the stuff of nightmares adrift at sea in a massive swell as dusk settles on the Pembrokeshire coast. How was that for a story, Tom?
That was pretty terrifying, I got to say. Those horror movies, or those sea disaster movies, The Perfect Storm, The Finest Hours, Titanic, I was in all of them then.
And they've got nothing on this week's guest, Harry Cromwell's tales of seafaring, surfing, dairy farming, and whelk fishing.
And his yellow wellies.
On
BBC Three.
Yeah, indeed. So, yeah, this week's guest, Harry Cromwell, we had good fun with him, Tom, talking all things surf and beyond. There's lots to catch up on, so enjoy the show.
If the best surfer is the one having most fun, then today's guest is right up there with the GOATs.
True that, but he'd also stand out in most lineups if we went with the conventional criteria too, and wouldn't matter where you were, at home or abroad.
It's Pembrokeshire's finest, the shredder in yellow wellies, he's Harry Cromwell.
Yes, what a guest. Certainly one of my favourite surfers to watch, surf with, or even compete against. Harry's in our virtual studio. How's it going, Harry? Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Sir Blythe. Bye. Good to see you, mate.
And you. And I know, well, as you say, you can see us, but for the benefit of the listeners, we should introduce the rest of the Crest team too. To my left is the man behind the failed writing-themed property development, Lexi Condos. The 2 and 3 bedroom apartments with communal library facilities was set to be a spectacular success, with many big names from the publishing world signing up to live there. However, a grammatical error was found in the promotional pamphlet, prompting outrage amongst many, and alas, leading to the eventual demise of the project. It's Tom Anderson. How are you, Tom?
Yeah, I'm impressed. I'm suitably impressed. Okay, you might have the nod this week. To my right, it's the only man to surf Lantwit in a beaver tail without getting permanently banned. He must have either looked very, very good, or else he ran for the hills before they could catch him. It's Robert Webster Blythe.
Yeah, well, there's a few things to say about that one, Tom. Thank you, first of all, but it's factually incorrect because I've seen Elliot Dudley in a beaver tail at Lantwit as well in real life.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, Harry, I'm not sure if you listened to any of the other ones, but Tom and I had this little riff off at the beginning. And, well, which one do you reckon? Who do you reckon won it this week? I think Tom got the nod last week, but I feel mine was suitably complex this week. What do you reckon?
I'm going to sit on the fence, I think, boys. I don't want to upset anybody.
Give me straight.
I don't
normally understand half the gibberish you boys go on about.
I'm going to do the cricketers thing and concede on this one. I'm going to walk. There was a little snick off my bat there. I think Rob had me this week.
That's very kind of you. Thanks, Tom.
Yeah. Before we get to the thick of it, let me walk you through a quick intro to Harry. I first saw this guy as a kid on what I think was his first or second Welsh team trip. That depends if the Celtics was before or after the Europeans. I think it was just before, wasn't it? I'm not sure if Harry's going to remember that exactly.
I don't know.
Cheeky 13-year-old. I was told that Harry was a shredder, and then I saw him surfing, and he absolutely was a shredder. However, he did happen to have somebody called Jeremy Flores in his heat at that time. Flores did win. That same Celtics was the one where Nicola Horn, partner of Stephen Horn, the longboarder and chairman of the Welsh Coast Surf Club, Nicola famously drove over Greg Owen's boards in the car park just before they loaded them up onto the...
You mean Reg Bowen?
Reg Bowen, that's it. Just before they loaded old Reg's boards into the back of the van at Sands Services.
Goodness me. Add it to the list. Surf trip nightmares.
Yeah. Harry's rivalry with Flores would go on to last throughout their time in the junior ranks, as well as becoming a partnership of sorts, as they were teammates by both being selected for the Quiksilver junior programs of the 2000s. This opportunity would see Harry travel the world under the tutelage of some of the greatest coaches and riders, such as Jake Patterson and two-time world champion Tom Carroll. In a nail-biting finish, Harry would narrowly miss out 2 years later, leading Flores throughout the final of the European Under-16s Championship, only to get pipped at the post in the closing moment. That's okay. Flores would later develop a career-long habit for that, including a Pipe Masters win over Kieran Perrow, which, for all we know, was owed entirely to the clutch condition finishing skills that he'd learned during his battles with Harry Cromwell. Well, that's how I like to see it anyway.
Since then, Harry has lived up to the billing as one of Wales's best surfers, with a style and repertoire of manoeuvres in all conditions, which marks him as one of this land's truly class contributions to the international roster. That said, he remains one of the best surfers never to have won a Welsh Open title, which we'll no doubt ask him about shortly. As much a character as he is a surfer, he also became one of Britain's most familiar surfing faces when he wedded the lovely Mel on BBC Three, Don't Tell the Bride. The show's iconic moment was surely the addition of the yellow wellies, which connoted his now more than a decade-long side career as a deep-sea fisherman. Let's start there. Harry, you're still out on the boat a lot at the moment. How's things with the fishing?
Yeah, it's going really well, actually. This year, me and the mate I fish with, have just bought a boat, which is pretty mega. Don't have to deal with no bosses anymore. We just do what we want to do. But unfortunately, at the moment, it's fish, and earn, because we're in a lot of debt.
Good job for surfing, though?
Yeah, it can be a really good job for surfing, because generally when there's big surf, we're not fishing. It's too rough for us to go out, so we get to surf. But today was a bad example, because it was a lovely, clean, small swell running, and we were just gliding over these lovely waves and just knowing that fresh would be pumping. And instead of going surfing, I had to come and talk to you two idiots.
Oh, no. It'd be a nice high tide now in Middle Bay, actually, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
As well?
Oh, no. Sorry, Harry.
It's onshore down here anyway.
I was a bit tired anyway. I think I might save it for Dorney, I think.
That's it. We saved
nice
you.
idea.
Rest the shoulders. Well, let's start there. At the beginning, starting to surf. So you grew up on a farm near Tenby, didn't you?
Yeah, a farm in Gumfreston, which is now a famous dinosaur park. And yeah, my dad's a dairy farmer. My mum was also a dairy farmer, and I was just a little farm grom, and then become surfer, become fisherman.
How did the surfing start? What prompted that?
Well, I think my mum's super keen beach goer and loved just kind of hanging out at the beach. So we just used to go down the beach, and my brothers somehow got into surfing, and then I kind of just followed suit, copied them, and got into it as well. So
are you actually someone who can gut a fish and milk a cow?
I probably couldn't do either.
Oh, because I was about to say, that's it then. You're definitely going to survive the apocalypse, but maybe you're not.
Surf and turf.
I can just about, I can roughly gut a fish, and I could probably milk a cow if I had to, but no, I'm not good at either one of them, no.
Just catching the fish is your specialty then?
Yeah, we catch them. And it's not actually fish we catch, it's whelks. So they're big sea snails, so you wouldn't really want to you wouldn't really gut them. They just go straight to the factory and they sort them out.
Oh, right, nice. You, lots of time around the sea growing up then, and one of your earliest memories as a surfer, and one of the first times you got off that south coast and went out west, was when all the beaches of the south coast of Pembrokeshire were covered in oil after the 1996 Sea Empress disaster. Yeah,
that was very early on in our surfing career, when the Sea Empress hit the ground off outside of Milford there, and all the beaches were wrecked, like black as you can. We got photos of it. Just, it was crazy how bad it was. And luckily my mum was keen to keep us in the sea and stuff, and she'd drive us up to sort of White Sands Way, and we'd managed to get in the sea a little bit over it. But that was devastating at the time. Really, really bad.
Oh, I bet it must have been really bad for the whelk industry as well back then, I suppose, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, back then, for the fishermen, they actually come out of it really good, because they got compensated massively. So a lot of the fishing boys back then had crap boats, and a few years later were driving around in the a Mercedes version of a boat, you know,
souped up
Yeah.
ride boats.
And obviously there was an effect to the fishing, but it's come back so good, so strong. You know, overall it didn't affect it to the
That's
point.
it. I remember it at the time, and I remember being stunned by how quickly it recovered, because we were down at Fresh, it seemed, the next year, and there was barely any sign of it. They did such a good job of the clear up, and the ocean has that habit of cleaning itself so well, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing. I like if you'd taken like looking at photos of when it happened, and then a year later, like you say, or 2 or 3 years later, you wouldn't have even known nothing had happened unless you dug down in the sand a bit. But I suppose at the end of the day, the oil comes from the ground, doesn't it? So it found its way back down there, I guess, somehow.
Yeah, it's organic, isn't it?
You mentioned earlier, Harry, your brothers somehow got into surfing. So Luke's a bit older than you, and is it Sam, his oldest brother?
Yeah, Sam's a middle brother. He's 2 years older than me.
Oh, I beg your pardon.
Luke is the oldest. He's 3 years older than me. We were all keen. Luke was a lot, probably the best out of all of us, and then Sam was he was a bit special when it comes to surfing. he'd be the one when the set come, you'd say go and he'd go, but he'd always nosedive and get beaten.
Reward commitment points though.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, he had his own way of just going on waves and not really making them, whereas Luke had a bit of talent, and I just kind of copied both of them and done what I could,
So you were competitive with Luke then?
Yeah. Well, with both of them, as you are with your brothers, from anything from blooming fighting to bloody riding your bike to surfing. Yeah, I just wanted to. I kind of wanted to be like them. I just wanted to do what they were doing, playing the guitar, whatever they'd done. I wanted to do.
And I remember in the earliest days, like Luke rode for Billabong, didn't he? And you got picked up by Quick. What order did that happen in?
Yeah. Well, I remember it was a Welsh. It was, and I think Carwyn was down, and Nick Swinnerton, and I think maybe they had something to do with the Billabong, picking the team and stuff like that. And I actually had I remember Carwyn was on the beach with my mum and my brother, and I had a heat, and I surfed. I didn't get any waves, like literally no waves. I got out, I was gutted. And that year, then Luke done pretty good, I think, and he got picked up by Billabong. And I just remember him getting boxes of clothes in the post, and I was like, "Oh my god, that's amazing!" I was like, "I can't wait to get sponsored. I've got to get sponsored now." And then it wasn't long after. I think I was about 14. And I had a phone call off Joe Hargraves, which is Spencer's dad, and he was like, "Oh, right there, Harry, it's Joe here from Quiksilver," and he's like, "I'm wondering if you want to be sponsored by Quiksilver." And I was like, at the time, I was like, all I want to do is sponsored by Billabong. I was like, "Oh, I don't know, I'll have to get back to you. I can't really."
Do I have to?
Yeah, I was like, because I all I wanted was sponsored by Billabong, so I said, "I'm gonna have to get back to you. I got a couple of things," and he was like, "What do you mean?" And I was like, "I just got a couple of things to sort out." And then I went to speak to Luke, and I was like, "Oh, phone up Swinner." I was like, "See if he wants to sponsor me, because Quiksilver want to." And he's like, "Don't be such a..." He's like, "Take this us." He's like, "Don't be so stupid. Take..." He's like, "Get back on the phone and tell him you want it." And I was like, "Oh, okay." I was like, "I suppose I better add." And then, yeah, it turned out like the best opportunity ever to get picked up by Quiksilver. They're amazing. And that was it.
When you were with Quiksilver, Harry, am I right? You went on quite a few trips with them, didn't you? And met, well, at the time and still now, quite big names as part of those trips. So you were met, well, your arch enemy, Flores, Lacamar, Banduru.
Yeah. Like literally, probably loads more pros I don't even know at the time. Was just like loads of kids. Like
it was around that time that you're doing all the young gun stuff. Where were you on the men's trip, Harry?
Yeah, well, I got invited, but I had to go milk the cows with my dad. So, priorities is.
Absolutely, innit? Get you ready for the apocalypse.
Yeah. No, that like there was a couple of them on, like Flores, and that Garrett Park kid was on the Australian one. Yeah, well, it was literally, I got back from Australia, and then one of them, that Young Guns 3, I think, started, and a couple of them boys were on that and all. But yeah, going away with all that crew was crazy. Like,
that must have had a huge impact on your surfing, hey?
Yeah, it did massively. Like, we were just getting coached constantly, like tips on what to do, watching, just surfing with people who were better. better than you, improves you so much. But yeah, just surfing with like all them pros was crazy. I was just, I was honestly just like, what's going on here? I was like, I don't deserve to be here. I was like, I don't know why the hell I'm here. It was just like, what's this white blonde kid doing here at Wales? And then, but yeah, it was all right. I like had a wicked laugh with it. And I remember them, like one of the coaches said to me, he was like, because I was out there just like, oh, that was a sick one. I was like, nice turn on that one. And then the next guy I wear, I'd be like, that was amazing wave you had then. And then one of the coaches said to me, he's like, why are you complimenting everyone so much? He's like, you need to be a bit meaner. He's like, you need to start like thinking you're the boy, you're the best. And I was like, nah. I was like, I'm not the best. I'm not going with that. I was like, I'm happy to serve with all of them. Like, you know, so, but it was amazing. It was
an
massive
opportunity.
Yeah.
And do you find that surfing with sort of international surfers of that standard, it teaches you to go into different bits of the wave to what you learn when you're at home?
Yeah. Do you mean like using the pocket of the wave? And
yeah,
I suppose you kind of surf in foreign waves a little bit different anyway, because at home you're kind of trying to build up as much speed as you can to do a turn on any little section you can. So when you do travel abroad, you kind of can use the power of the wave to hit it right in the pocket anyway. But yeah, to see how they surf at the time was just so different, like to what I'd ever seen before. I was just like blown away. Even a lot of the, even surfing with Spencer and the British guys, I was like, these guys are amazing. And then going to like see the Euro kids and the Euro, all the Euro gang and the Australian guys, just the way the speed they done their turns, and they were flying. It was amazing.
And then there was that first Europeans heat against Jeremy Flores in 2000. That was in Jersey, and I remember vividly seeing that from the wall at Water Splash. But then 2 years later, you ran him very, very close in that under-16s final of the Euros. So tell us what you remember of that.
I was in Mimizan, I'm pretty sure, and it was a wicked trip. I remember my brother was on that trip. A load of good guys. Greg Owen was the coach. And he was pretty good, to be fair. He was on the beach cheering us the whole way. And yeah, the waves are tiny, and I was always like one of the smaller kids out of everyone. So to my advantage, I actually got knocked out in the first heat. I got knocked out in the first heat, and I was like,
down into the repechage round.
Into the repechage, and then had about 20 heats against everyone. And yeah, it was really...
It's Greg Owen who's got the name for that, and he calls it the Grim Reaper. Down in the Grim Reaper, are you?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I went straight into the Grim Reaper, and then managed to just wicker whack my way for a few heats, flying along. And then in the final, I had a good final, but that was it. The two other guys in the final, they had an interference. They were straight out of it. So it was literally me and Flores in it. And I was like, this is mine. I had some good waves. I was really happy. Flores had nothing. And it was like a half an hour final, whereas all the rest had been 20 minutes. And come like 25 minutes, it was still Harry in red, winning the final, winning the heat. I was like, yes. I was like, got this. And then Flores got out of the heat, changed his board, come back in, and had two waves off the bat and just blasted it and kicked my ass. And that was it. That was the end of it. And I remember afterwards, actually, on the podium when they called us up, they called me up in fourth, and rather than kicking off and saying, no, second, I just took my fourth place and walked off.
Well, then swapped it with the second place guy afterwards.
Afterwards, yeah. I was like, oh no, gutted. But here we are.
Classic. So since then, you've been one of the standout competitors in the Welsh. In fact, talking about you surfing against Flores, I can remember you and our very own Rob Webster Blythe and Vorney having a quarterfinal high tide fresh, and I remember you smoking the pair of them. But a lot of those really sort of killer performances in the Welsh were always in the rounds other than the final. You've been run close quite a few times, but you've ended up with this moniker the best surfer never to win the Welsh. Do you like that title?
I love that title. I don't think it's true, but I'll definitely take it.
What you'll find is, I think it's Vorney says "yet" on the end of that sentence.
Yeah, man. I'm definitely still going for one.
Vorney was older than you when he did it for the first time, I think, wasn't he?
Yeah, I always remember him like when I was like 25, 26, like missing out. He'd always be like, "Oh, don't worry, Harry. Like, I'm 33 or 4 or whatever, and I've only just won a title." Like that. And I was thinking, I was like, I don't know. I when I was a kid, I always thought I'd have a Welsh title, and then as it comes down to it, I've just never done it. So I'm sure it'll happen one day. And if it doesn't, I'm not too bothered, to be honest.
You got plenty of age-specific titles, though, haven't you, from your junior years?
Yeah. I've won a few Welsh juniors, and I had a British under 14s, which I was quite happy with.
Nice.
So I have actually won a Welsh Open, which was at Fourth Call. It was
I remember that.
Elusive Welsh Open. So I'll take that as a Welsh title.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So yeah, that'll be my Welsh title if I never win one.
Let's fingers crossed we can get the Welsh done at some time this year as well.
Yeah, is that going to happen or
who knows? Your guess is as good as ours. We chatted about this earlier on, but I think on the first episode, but it's up in the air, isn't it? Hopefully, at some point later in the year, you never know.
I think it will. I got a feeling, and I also reckon. I think it came to me in a dream the other day. I was just sitting there. I was like, do you know what? The Welsh is going to end up getting run in like the dead of summer somewhere, and like whoever wins the Welsh this year is going to be in boardies. So I don't know. Think about what colour boardies to put on, Harry, for the Welsh if it ends up in one of these nice brown water spots up the channel somewhere. You know.
What do you mean? It can't be anywhere else but fresh, surely.
We had this on the Welsh Coast Surf Club quiz on Friday in the past decade, where is the only place that the Welsh seniors has been held other than fresh?
Lantwit.
Yes, indeed.
There you are. You've got one mark more than Greg Owen. Even though he was there.
Fingers crossed, because we all love the Welsh, even if we don't make the finals often.
Yeah.
Skating down the road and chatting nonsense. Anyway, let's move this on. So we touched upon briefly, Harry, your fishing career, and you told us about the involvement in the whelk industry. How did that come about? Dairy lad into the high seas.
Once again, it was following my brother. A couple of his mates were fishermen, and he got a job on one of the boats down there, or covered for someone down there, and really liked it and was making pretty good money. And he just was on to me. He's like, "Oh, what are you doing?" He's like, "You need to be on the fishing boats making money." I was like, "Oh, do you reckon it'll be all right?" He was like, "Yeah, it's quite hard work, but I think he'll manage it." And I was like, "Do you think I'll be able to lift the box and stuff?" And he was like, "Oh, I don't know." He said, "But you'll have to come and have a go one day." And I remember one day, one of his crew, or one of the boys he was working with, didn't turn up, and he phoned me up. He's like, "Harry, get on the boat." He's like, "We got a day for you." And I was like, "Oh, I don't know. I'm not really feeling it, mate." He's like, "Get down the boat." So I was like, "Okay." I went down the boat, and that's history, really. I worked that day, worked my bollocks off, or worked my ass off, and then I remember them going, "Right, that boy's not coming back." He's like, "You're working on it tomorrow." I was like, "Okay." And that was it from then on. Yeah.
What does for the lay person, what does a normal day look like on the boat?
A normal day. So you get down the harbour, you lower on your fuel or your bait, and you pack lunch or your beers. And then you go out to sea and basically pull up a string of pots, whelk pots, and empty them, rebait them, shoot them back to sea, and keep doing that over and over again until it's time to come home.
Where do you go out from?
We fish from Saundersfoot. Yeah, Saundersfoot Harbour. And
do you usually stay pretty close to Saundersfoot? What's your kind of reach? How far up the estuary do you go?
We go
up the channel, rather.
Up the channel as far as sort of Oxford, in line with Oxford, is about as far as we've been. And then we go west, then down. You can go real far. We don't go much further than sort of Linney Head is as far as we've ever been, if not St. Govans, really.
Okay, how long's a day on the boat? I can't imagine it's a 2-hour job, is it?
No, we try and make it as short as possible. Anyway, we have done days where we can get in and out in about 8 hours, but generally it's more like a 10, 12-hour shift. And we've also had days where we've done more like a 16 hours as well when you've had a bad day.
That's
But
exhausting.
yeah. It's quite long days. It is quite long days.
You and I have chatted about this before, and you were saying that your main market's in Asia, isn't it, for the whelks?
Yeah, Korea. Apparently in Korea, it's a delicacy. They love it out there. The whelks they go mad for them.
Do you eat them?
I've tried them, but I don't eat them.
Not a big fan.
Nah, but you know what? I've never cooked them up. I've never really, all we've done is literally caught them, boiled them on the boat or fried them and eaten them raw. Whereas one of my friends has started cooking them up in like curries and stuff. And he's loving them. And he says they're amazing. And he's going to make me a curry one night and I'll go around and try it because apparently they're really good for you. And they're an aphrodisiac as well. So,
well, hey, you don't need any of that, mate.
Yeah, you're probably right there. But,
So anybody that follows you on Instagram will have seen funny. Is it Tuttle you on the boat with?
Yeah, Tuttle. Yeah.
Sorry, your videos are so funny, and it always seems to be like not bullying him, but certainly playing pranks on him.
Tuttle is the poopies to Harry's job, I reckon.
They're very entertaining.
Yeah, Tuttle's my best mate, and he's actually got a boat of his own at the moment. But I have worked on the boat with him, and the normal prank is because we don't have a toilet on the boat. So if you need a number two, there's nowhere to go but in a bucket or over the side. So you've got to kind of try and do it when no one's looking, without getting caught on a live feed to Facebook or Instagram. So yeah, we're always keeping an eye out, make sure no one's having a shit, and if they are, get your phone and film it.
So I've seen the funny side of it on Instagram. Is it you were saying about those long days? Sure. Well, and earlier you said you only go out when it's kind of calm, but surely there's quite a lot of risk associated with fishing, isn't there? Yeah,
it's like you've got to do all your sea survival courses and first aid and all your skipper's ticket and all, but yeah, and they drum it into you like it's the most dangerous job in Britain, and so many, out of 10 people, one person's going to die, and all they tell you all this stuff. But it is a dangerous job, but we are like super conscious about it, and we're really on the ball. And even though it is, or it can be really dangerous, we're real careful.
And then down your way, of course, you've got the risk of drifting into the MOD firing range as well. Does that happen to some of the boats sometimes? Is that a bit of a risk you've got to be wary of?
Yeah, very recently. It wasn't even drifting in. A friend's boat of ours that goes from the same harbour. They were on autopilot, steaming out to sea to do their gear. And as you steam out in the mornings, there's obviously jobs to do on the way out. So you kind of out on deck, cutting up bait and all stuff. But normally the skipper's at the wheel, keeping an eye out. And this guy, I don't know what happened, but he ended up mounting his boat on top of a firing range buoy, which is like, these buoys are like, like 3 meters high by like 3 meters wide. And he got stuck on top of a buoy, and Tuttle or Poopies him and his brother on another boat had to tow him off. And their boats, he managed to get ashore. He literally just steamed straight in, got ashore before the vessel sunk, and but I think the boat's pretty much a write-off.
Isn't it also a bit of a risk that the MOD are going to think that they're under attack or something, and then suddenly the next thing you see is a missile firing through the air, like straight at you?
Yeah, now we we work with the firing range. We know when they're firing. They call us up and they say, "Get out the firing range, boys. What are you doing?" So yeah, we're in contact with them all the time. But that can be a bit of a pain in the arse, to be honest. So, Harry, apart from man-made objects, is there anything that nature's thrown at you whilst you've been on the boat that's been scary? Any big seas? Yeah, there was one real bad time which sticks in my mind. Was about 6 years ago now. We had a new boat made, so we went from it's called a Gemini 10 meter, and that's like a big diesel inboard boat, to what we got now, which is a cheetah catamaran. 11.9 meters. So it's a bit longer and a bit narrower. And it's outboard engines, whereas the old one was inboard. So it drives completely different. The old one was just so easy to drive, drove like a tank, and just real easy to control. And I was just used to that boat. That's the boat I pretty much learned everything on. And then we had this new boat made, and they just finished sorting it all out in Milford, and I had to steam it around to Saundersfoot to go fishing. And I was so eager to get it in the water and go fishing. We knew there was a big storm, and it was due to get a lot worse and a big swell running, but I was so keen. I was like, I just want to get it around to Saundersfoot now, so we can start fishing. And the owner was like, maybe leave it till tomorrow. And I was like, no, I'm going. So we started heading out of Milford, and we got to, as you're leaving out past, Linney Head, and turn as if you go towards Fresh West. And the swell was massive. And like, I'd never been out in sea like that before. And it was literally like going over mountains. And I was like, this isn't a good idea. I was like, but it'll be all right. I was like, we'll get there. So I kept going. And it's quite a quick boat, and the handling was a bit weird and different. And then as we got further along by St. Govan's, there is a place called St. Govan's Shoals, which the rips all run in funny directions. And by the time we got there, the like storm was hitting. And the way I wanted to go, it was like the waves were hitting us on like the back quarter, which isn't a nice place to hit. So when I was going down the waves, the boat was basically trying to turn right round, and the boat was surfing down the waves and like nose diving and spinning around like 180 degrees. The engines were cutting out. It was a totally new boat. I didn't know what I was doing.
Oh gosh.
And it was a real bad decision by me making going around. And I was proper scared.
Who do you have on with you?
I had a crewmate with me who's not with me now, but it was a boy called Sawyer, and he was white, and he was super scared, like we were both shaking, like adrenaline scared. And I never forget, we come through like Caldy Sound between Gilter and Caldy Island, and as you get around there, you're just totally sheltered. And like I give him a hug, it was that full on. I give him a hug, and I was buzzing. I was so excited to get around and so relieved that we'd made it.
Oh my goodness!
It was like proper scary. We surfing down waves on the boat, and it was massive. It was crazy, really crazy.
That's like the perfect storm stuff. That film with.
That's what I was going to say. It is the plot line of many of those like fishing disaster movies, isn't it? There was that Finest Hours a couple of years ago.
And do you know what? Do you know what as well? Like it was night. It was like just getting dark as well. And at night, everything seems worse. Everything at sea when it's dark is worse.
I can imagine.
So that was like probably if it had been daytime and I'd been on the boat that I was used to, it would have been like big surf and the biggest waves I've been out in. But it was just like magnified, because of all the different factors. It was just it was pretty scary.
Wow. Talking of brave men in yellow wellies, let's talk about Don't Tell the Bride. How did that end up happening, Harry? So, what was it like having your wedding basically being used for a TV show?
It was really good, actually. Yeah, it went really well. And I'm still to this day glad that I done it.
I bet.
But yeah, me and Mal used to watch that show on TV, and we loved it. We'd always like take the mick out of the people doing it, calling them idiots and all. And I was like, we could do a better one than that, Mal. And she was like, yeah, that we should like apply. And I was like, oh yeah, cool, we'll apply. So I think Mel sent a photo in and wrote a little thing about what we'd done. And then they got back to us and they said, I fancy coming to London to meet us and see how it goes. And I didn't think it was going to happen. I didn't think at all it was going to happen. We just kind of went along with it and went up there, and Tuttle come up with us. Oh no, I think me and Mal went up one day actually, and had a day up there, and then they asked for us again then for me and Tuttle to go up with Mal, and then I think there and then they were like, right, okay, cool. They're like, how about like if this is going to happen, how about can we do it in like 3 weeks? And we were like, yeah. And they were like, okay, cool, we're doing it. And I was like, all right. But that's so from going from like applying to starting the process it was like only like a couple of months between the whole lot, so it was quite come on quite fast. But yeah,
like you say, it was such a good one though. People that don't know you that I've heard like mentioned in the staff room in school, and they're talking about Don't Tell the Bride. But like, oh, did you see the one with the guy down in Pembrokeshire with the wellies in the harbour? They're like, yeah, that's my mate Harry. No way. You came across really well in it.
I appreciate that, Clive. But I got a lot of good feedback, and a lot of people said they loved it. But I also had like loads of random messages off people calling me like a selfish and stuff like that.
Did you have to basically can you agree with each other, in secret beforehand and go, right, so what we're going to do is, right, we'll get you to say that this is like your worst possible wedding. Well, like me and my mate organise exactly our wedding, but then really like we double bluff them, and it turns out that like that was exactly the wedding she wanted anyway.
Well, I've signed a contract, so I can't, go into depth about it.
I know about how those things work from ghostwriting, yeah.
Well, Mel's so easygoing though, isn't she? I'm sure she'd have been there.
Yeah.
Whatever you pulled out the bag.
Well, when we went up to London, they basically asked like us what would we do, And when you say, look, we're fishermen, we're going to do a fisherman's wedding, that's what they want, They don't want you to say that and then go ahead and do a surfing wedding or something like that. So you're kind of stuck to that idea. And then pretty much, we pretty much just got to do what we wanted to do, And Mel was easygoing about it. She just wanted to have a good crack, which she did. And it did turn out really good. And we were really lucky. It went really well. And we had a wicked party. It was like, not just because it was my wedding, but I think it was one of the best weddings I've ever been to. It was amazing.
Oh, that's cool. Well, you didn't do what that one guy did, the other infamous episode where the guy just took the wedding money and went to Vegas and blew it on a stag do.
Yeah.
And then made them all pay their own way to go over there afterwards, didn't you?
That was classic, wasn't it? Fair play. What a star. No, I don't think that relationship lasted that long.
Whereas you guys going super strong, and the two of you is now the six of you. So you're a father of four. So you guys are clearly like well into the parenthood thing. You keep going back for more.
Blame the whelks.
Yeah, it's the whelks. That's what done it. Yeah.
4 kids.
Yeah, four girls I got, and it is pretty hectic in our household at the moment. But I love it.
How do you get away to surf?
I don't surf anymore. Nah, yeah.
You say you love it.
Yeah, it's like, as you guys probably know, if you don't surf, you're not who you are. I'm not Harry when I don't surf, so Mel understands that, and she lets me have my surf time. But I'm pretty lucky to have someone like Mel who does a lot of work behind the scenes. As I always say, behind every good man is a great woman, and she is a great woman. And she's super organized and gets all the girls together doing all the things that we need to do. So I just go out, get the work done, and hopefully try and squeeze in a surf and just have fun with them, So that's the best thing.
We had one at like nearly the same time, didn't we? I think you had your third when I had my first, and then I remember bumping into you guys in MacArthur Glen. Like it can't have been that much longer later, and then we were having a little catch up, and then I was like, "What? Like your baby hasn't like grown at all?" And then you were like, "No, we're on to another one. This is the next one." So like, this was in the time that it had pretty much taken me to like recover my wits at all, and like you guys had gone for it again.
Yeah. We had our first two, Honey and Tilly, pretty close together with like 13 months in between them. You're really fertile after just having a baby, apparently, and we found that out pretty quick. And then we had like a little gap then, and the girls was kind of like just going to school. We just sort of had our lives coming back to normality, and then next minute, number 3, Millie comes along, and then number 4 as well. And do you know what? I would love to have 10 kids. I would love it, but just time. You just haven't got the time to give them, to give them all individually enough time each, and the money. If I didn't have to work, I probably would have 10 kids because they're a wicked laugh.
And how do you take them all on a trip somewhere?
It's
excess baggage.
Yeah, it's it's full on and it's hard work, but you just got to have an organised wife, which Mel is, because I'm not that organised. And you just got to go with the flow, you know. It's just, you just got to have fun, and you just don't stress about nothing. Just take your time. Be prepared for just sick and poo and like nappies and people not understanding you got kids on flights, and you just got to just go with it and you just enjoy it.
Because you do travel with them, don't you?
Yeah. We've not long come back from Bali with all four of them, and it was probably one of the best trips I've been on.
I saw some really good pictures that your brother took, Harry. Of I'm not sure if it was over several sessions or one particular one, but you're surfing a right-hander, and there's lots of pictures of you locked in the barrel.
Yeah. He's pretty much every surf we went on. Luke was like, I'll just take photos. You go surfing. I was like, okay.
And for those people listening that don't know, Luke lives in Bali, doesn't he? And I suspect he's got the place dialed by now, hasn't he?
Yeah, my brother Luke. He's lived over there now for probably 8 years or so, maybe more. I don't know, about 8 years. And he has got the place dialed. It is literally a case of, where are we surfing today, Luke? And he'll just be like, we're going here. This is going to be good. No one's going to be here. And I'm like, okay. And we'd turn up and it would be good and no one would be in. And I'd be like, this is mental. I was like, what? He's like, is there not crowds in Bali? And he's like, yeah, it's crowded, but not if you know where to go. And that's so true. I surfed so much in Bali, and the busiest it got was like, well, I did surf the classic places busy, but whenever I went with him or Johnny Harris, who also is in Bali at the moment, and has got it dialed down, we was just literally, it was me, Luke, and Johnny. And then like come like 10 o'clock, a few people would rock up, but it's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
And are you at liberty to tell us where that spot was?
Oh, I couldn't even name it if I tried. I haven't got a clue.
You were telling me about a great session at just a random beachy somewhere in Bali that Luke knew about as well.
Yeah. Most of the best waves I had in Bali was on a beach break. Would you believe that? Like,
I would.
Well, a lot of people wouldn't. A lot of people don't believe me, but yeah, beach break barrels, just like easy waves, like easy paddle out. You get into the wave pretty easy and just really good barrels. But yeah, that one particular day, we went to this spot, which was quite funny. We were meant to be meeting one of the local pros there, which Luke knows because he knows all the boys there. And his waterproof camera was leaking. So we tried going in a couple of times. It was leaking. We had to get out. I had to help him like clean it and then go back in. And it was like 2 foot and crap. And I was like, I'm not really feeling this one, Lukey. And he's like, I'll be all right now when the tide turns, it'll pick up and stuff. And the local guy come along, Unjo, his name is, and he was like, oh, it's not very good. We'll go up the road. It'll be bigger. And then he went his way, we went our way. And then he come back and he's, oh, look at this section here. And it just grew and grew and grew. And it went from like 2 foot to like 6 foot solid. I didn't want to paddle into some of the sets. And Lukey was there going, go. So I would go and be like pulling in and getting a beat in and then coming up on the next one. And this local boy would just be like, just standing up in these barrels. It was crazy, man. Flying along. And I was just amazed by it. It was wicked. And Luke was there just getting pounded with his camera every time. It was so sick, honestly. It was amazing. I can't wait to go back.
Little plug for Luke here then at this point. If we want to see Luke's Bali photos, is it Photo Boss Bali on Instagram?
Yeah, at Photo Boss Bali. Yeah, go and check him out. If you are going to Bali, give him a shout because he can advise you on what to do and where to stay. He's actually got a homestay over there with his missus, so they can hook you up with a pad to stay and sort out transport and stuff.
And whereabouts are they in Bali?
They are at a place called Gunung Payung, which is over on the east coast, but on the like Bukit or whatever you call it.
So in that kind of Nusa Dua, Sanur direction?
Yeah, just kind of south of Nusa Dua, about 10 minutes south of Nusa Dua. It's in between Nusa Dua and Greenball, basically. There's a few waves there.
Just get loads of swell.
Yeah, every day there's waves, every day. It's an amazing place. And like me being over there with the kids and Mal, I would just get up at like 4 a.m. We'd go off to find a wave, surf till like 10, and then come home, and I'd just spend all day then chilling with the girls at the beach or at the pool or whatever, and then maybe have another surf, but more than likely just chill and then go the next morning again. It's perfect.
So you're clearly enthralled with Bali, Harry. Is there anywhere else you ticked off that you particularly enjoyed? Any trips that stand out in your memory?
Yeah, loads of. It's hard to pick individual trips because I've had so many good ones. We had a good one in France for the Worlds. That was mega trip. I loved that one.
Yeah, we mentioned that with Emily, who was on the show last week. It was particularly funny, and it was Vaughan's supposed retirement from international surfing, wasn't it? Which made it extra special. Yeah,
Vaughan was a class act on that trip, fair play. But so was, it was a good crew of all of us, and not only was it, we had really good waves, didn't we? We had that.
Cavalier,
pumping, and the comp waves weren't very good, but it was a good trip, that one. But another place I do love to go is down to Portugal, down Algarve, like the Crest. I think we went there on a honeymoon actually, and since then we've been back and forth with the kids. Been there just for sneaky weekend aways with me and her. A place called Xavier. I love the right hander there. Amazing wave. If it's working, and if not, there's plenty of other waves there.
Do you stay near Xavier when you go?
We stay in Lagos. We do.
Right. Okay.
Which is like a bit further along, a bit further east than Xavier. And then what I normally do is just rent a car, and it's not far to drive really to Xavier, and then to even the west coast. And there's always waves over there normally, isn't there?
Have you seen that video on YouTube of Alex Botello, the big wave surfer who's recently, I think he broke his neck, didn't he, at Nazaré at some point this early this winter. There's a video of him getting a wave, and you wouldn't believe it, but it is. I've looked at it closely and looked at all the landmarks across the harbour mouth of Lagos in a particularly big south
the super long wave.
Supposedly the longest wave ever ridden on camera. Absolutely incredible.
I haven't seen that. I'll have to look that one up.
Oh yeah, look it up, Alex Botello, and he goes clean, because you've probably never seen a wave break in front of Lagos Rivermouth ever, have you?
No.
You won't believe it. It's like 6 to 8 foot as well, and he makes it it just fills the channel, goes clean across. It's insane. You mentioned Portugal. You also speak fondly of that first ever Welsh team trip to Galicia, which is that's a beautiful part of the world as well, isn't it?
Amazing, absolutely amazing. I don't remember much because I was really young on it, and I was probably a bit drunk on it as well. Being there with half the Lantwick team and a load of.
So I love that. Just shows that we're going slightly sort of back into summer surfing's older days here, because the next thing I got on my prompts is to ask you about winning the under 14s. You did though. You were sorry. That's a European title there.
What's that? The Celtics. That was
Yeah.
That was amazing trip, amazing comp, amazing bunch of guys we went with, and I managed to win the under 14s as well, which was even better. I remember getting out of the final, and all the judges were clapping me up the beach. I couldn't believe it.
Epic.
I just, when you have a real good surf, it was like I was surfing on top form, managed to get some amazing waves, and it was in a final. I couldn't believe it. And just everything about that trip felt good. The surfing, the crew, just amazing, really good. But Celtic water sports champion I was, and I'm pretty sure, I think Cat Thompson won the Masters or something.
He did,
and I think Wales done really well overall. They done really good.
And another bit from that is also the trip, of the famously run over surfboards at the start of the trip. But coming back from that, one of the little bits of legend that did the rounds down this way was when you were asked to arbitrate in an argument between Greg Owen, where he goes by Reg Bowen, that's his pseudonym on Crest, and Mark Vaughan. So this is two of the most decorated surfers in Wales's history, and the story goes that the two of them were arguing in a car park somewhere about who was the best. And they just grabbed the Grom and said, right, you tell us who's best. And we'll take names out of it at this point. Do you remember what your answer to that was? Because it did the rounds.
I have a slight memory about it. I think it was on a bus, my memory. I don't know why I remember being on a bus, but I remember having to stand up at the back of the bus. Being a Grom, I was kind of pushed down the front of the bus normally, but I was dragged to the back of the bus to give a demonstration of Reg's surfing. Or maybe I just chose to take the piss out of his surfing. But
that was, what you apparently answered with quite a scathing sort of ripping apart of those guys surfing, didn't you?
Yeah, if I remember, I think it was a bit more of a strong Lantwit contingency there. That all the boys were from Lantwit there,
Right.
And then I was kind of like, right, I got to stick to Vaughan's side here to get in with a good puck.
Throw the ball boy under the.
So
yes.
yeah, I ripped into Greg, and it worked out really well. They all loved it, and from that point on, I was the hero of the trip.
It included Greg as well. Apparently, Greg had great respect for that.
Fair play, he loved it.
What a backdrop as well, Galicia, sort of right out there on the kind of far west of the world. The deep blue water.
Definitely, yeah, it was lovely.
And where to next? What's your next trip when they're allowed again?
I'm not sure. I'd love to take the family back to Bali in the winter. I'd love to do that again. But as you can imagine, buying 6 tickets to Bali is quite expensive. So maybe just a Canaries trip. It's warm in the winter, and the winter's a good time for me to travel when the fishing's are good. But that's if we're allowed to travel anywhere. We don't know what's going to happen yet. I did say to Matt, it'd be quite nice just to have, take what money you'd spend on holiday and just do a little mission around Pembrokeshire,
Absolutely.
Maybe, in the van and a tent, take all the kids and just go like...
Pembrokeshire in the sunshine is heaven, isn't it?
It is, Rob. You're right, mate. I don't take it for granted at all. I absolutely love Pembrokeshire. The only bad thing is normally on a nice, sunny, calm day, which you'd be doing stuff with the family, I'd normally be at work. So cool. I come home and I'm already done in. So when I have a day off, it's normally miserable and there's not so much good stuff to do. So it'd be nice to have a bit of time off when the weather is nice and just enjoy it.
With great, but how do we always end up talking about travel at this point?
Yeah, we end up stoked and full of wanderlust, don't we, at the end of these? I thought it was meant to be in the terms and conditions of being a guest on this show that you meant to try and bring us to like a real downer at the end of it, aren't you?
I'm just with all these travel bans, all I can picture now is some like Mystic Bay in Pembrokeshire with a cackle, the Harry Cromwell cackle, kind of like ringing out from the rock somewhere as I try and find a way by myself. Anyway, like you say, Tom, I think we better put it right for all of our tortured listeners and us, really. We're going to have to wait a while for any chance of a foreign surf trip.
Or is it? It's time for this week's surf nightmare.
It absolutely is. And this week it is sent in from a friend of the show and resident Portugal that you mentioned earlier, Harry. It's Dav Marks, and I'll begin at the very beginning. It was the summer of 2002, just after that Japan and South Korea World Cup. I just bought an old Fiat work van for 600 quid to do my annual road trip to France. The plan, as always, was to go to play gigs with my band and some uni mates, flagging what we could find and finding a few waves along the way. This Fiat was a wreck that leaked more oil than you could top up. Perfect for the adventure. After a month in the north of France, me and a mate decided to head down south and visit our surfer friends who were working the season on the caravan park. The van was full of music gear and our surf stuff. We had a great stay on the Côte Sauvage with our friends, scoring some good waves on our sponges and one of our mates' mini-mals. Life was good. Too good. After a few days of refusing to leave the comfort of our host's static caravan, we decided to finally hit the road and head back north to get our ferry home, giving ourselves a few days to get there. Less than we'd liked in such a banger, but totally doable. Or so we thought. Just outside of La Rochelle, my mate turned to me and asked, "What's that smell?" Thinking he was just covering a fart, I hit the gas pedal a bit harder, and that's when it all went wrong. The sound of the engine was like an Apache helicopter, but that was where the comparisons ended. Unfortunately, the smoke pouring out of the bonnet was more like an Apache Indian smoking a peace pipe. An hour or so later, after sitting on the roadside leafing through a French phrase book, the Tombé en Panne, an assistance lorry saw us and offered us to take us to a mechanic. Absolutely skint, with only the clothes on our back, we got into a taxi in La Rochelle, into La Rochelle Centre. With no news from the mechanic, we realised we were there for the night. As we wandered aimlessly around, it started to pour with rain. No fresh clothes, no money, no food. We wandered around for the whole night, waking up on a bench the next day. 24 hours later than I could have done, I came across an emergency assistance card from my insurance company in my wallet. Of course. I called them and they agreed to put us up in a hotel. It was a one-star stink of a place on the outskirts of town, but nevertheless, my mate and I were like Lloyd and Harry from Dumb and Dumber, jumping up and down on the bed with joy. We pooled what little was left of our cash together to buy a loaf of bread and a bottle of vodka. We knew that the assurance was paying for the hotel, and to our delight, we realized that there was a phone in the room. We proceeded to call everyone we knew to tell them of our adventure. The following day, we were kicked out at 10 a.m., and as we were leaving, the receptionist came running and shouting. She had a bill for our phone calls in her hand. I turned around and shouted, "Assurance!" in my best French accent, and we did a runner. In the end, we got back to Wales, as the Welsh always do, and a week later, they shipped my van back to me on the condition that I fixed it and had it approved by an official mechanic. I did, with the never reimbursed cost of £1,000, and then sold the van at a major loss to some travelling folk in Cardiff. I hope it brought them better luck than it did me. So that's from Dav, a tale of classic travel. Well, I've been in that position myself, not quite lost and abandoned in La Rochelle by myself, but certainly on the back of a tow truck in central France somewhere.
You got a surf trip nightmare hell story from the past at all, Harry?
I've actually got a couple of stories. You going on about that one in France has reminded me one just now. Me and my friends, Poopies was there, Tuttle was there. We're heading to France.
That is his new name now.
Yeah, that's his name. We were heading down to stay on a friend of ours' yacht down in what's the harbour there right by Hossegor? Is it Capriton?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were staying down there, and anyway, we were on our way to Bristol. I think it was Bristol Airport, and there was me trying to get everyone organised. Like, come on, boys, you've got your stuff, get your bags on, come on. I think my mum dropped us to the airport and got in the airport, all getting queuing up, and I was like, oh, I forgot my passport. I forgot my bag, my passport bag. I got this little fold of my passport. So they're all like, oh, what, you haven't got your passport? So anyway, I ended up somehow get my passport. I think my mum had to drive back with my passport, but I ended up missing my flight. So they all flew into France without me. But I could only get to Bilbao. Is it Bilbao?
Yeah.
In northern Spain. That was the only one the next day. So I got on that flight, got to Bilbao, and then I had to somehow get from Bilbao to Cabreton or whatever it was. I got there in the middle of the night. There was like no taxis or nothing. I was just like abandoned basically with my board bag and a load of stuff. I managed to somehow, I think I got on a tube or a train to towards France. And I know you've been on a trip, me, Blythe. My French is rubbish, right? So I'm there with my board bag and like my like luggage and all, and I get to this French train station where they drop me off, and there's this tramp there trying to start a fight with me. And he does like a run. He does like a running headbutt at my chest. And I kind of like push him off, and I'm like, oh, mate, I don't want no trouble. I'm no trouble. Starts telling me about surfing and like, you shouldn't be surfing. And luckily, somehow, like, I've been messaging the boys where I was trying to like get them to come pick me up. They didn't have a hire car or nothing because they were just staying on this yacht. They managed to get some guy with a car to come find me and pick me up. They didn't even. They managed to find me anyway at this train station, and it was like when I seen them, it was so nice, and they picked me up, got me back to the yacht. It was lovely. But I actually told you about another hell story I had where I was spewing on a plane answer. I don't know if that one's any better, but
Oh, you know, we'll have a bit of that one as well. Yeah.
We've been to Sri Lanka for the Champions of Champions UK bloody
Oh yeah, that was
BPSA
when
tour.
they moved the BPSA finals out to Aragon Bay.
I've heard this story from a Cornish perspective.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
I want to hear your story there. But anyway, yeah, no, we'd done the event, and when we were on the way home, and all the there was a couple of Welsh boys on there, like Nate Phillips and Timmy Page, and they were trying to give it the big one of the Welsh being drinkers and all this. And I was quite a young grom and not very good at drinking, and I'd happened to get really ill at the end of the trip, spewing and the booze and all, and then and Aragon Bay is like a 12-hour hell bus drive back just to Colombo or wherever you fly from. So all that bus journey, the boys were drinking whiskey, feeding me this whiskey, and it was horrible. And then we managed to get on the plane, and I just wanted to just curl up and die. And I ended up spewing all over myself on the plane, everywhere, all over my clothes. I didn't have any spare clothes, so I had to go in the toilet and clean myself up. And even the air hostesses and all the other passengers was looking at me just as if I was scum. And I was like, oh, I'm ill. And they didn't believe me. They just thought I was a British pisshead. And I ended up having to travel the whole way home in these stinking spewy clothes. It was horrible. So that was a bit of a nightmare.
Two crackers there, Harry. We're There's Tom. Harry just said then that his French is awful, and I highly recommend going to France with Harry Cromwell, because you'll never be so flattered in your life. So I think I just said bonjour or something to someone, and Harry was going, "How do you speak so much French then, Rob?" I rolled with it for the rest of the trip, just saying the odd word here and there, and him thinking I was fluent. It's brilliant.
You was good, mate. You was class act in France. Fair play.
Merci.
Yeah, très bien, Harry.
What was your version of that? What was your version of that story of me spewing?
I'll have to tell you. I'll tell you what. We'll save it for another episode, because we've got plenty of surf trip from hell to come up.
Well, right. that one's going to make the finals. That one isn't it? No, I reckon, from Harry, the Sri Lanka spewing story. Because 2 weeks down the line now from here, what's happening? So I'm telling you, Harry, but we're also telling the listeners. We're going to be doing a double episode, and we've got a mystery third presenter who's going to be joining us, and we're going to sort of hold like a kind of like the champion of champions. Yeah, we're going to hold the sort of final awards for like the Nightmare Surf Trip stories. So what we'll do then, we'll give Harry a pass to the final for that. And what we'll do though in the final is you can be represented by Rob's Cornish version of the story.
And I've also actually got another one thinking about it as well.
Crack on Rhino did this as well. Somebody was like, I've never had a bad surf trip, but I've been on a plane on fire, I've been in an earthquake, terrorist attack.
Thing is, it always turns out as a good trip. But I remember going to Bali one of the first times with Mel, and we were there over Christmas and New Year's, and we'd not long arrived, never been to Bali before, was spinning out with all the crazy stuff going on. I don't know if you've been there over Christmas and New Year's, but you go out in the streets of Kuta and it's just fireworks going off, and just 1,000 people in the space of 2 square meters. And anyway, we were out drinking, just loving life, and a firework went off, and I jumped out the way and stubbed my toe real bad. I think I broke my toe. And I remember
any tropical injury is just the recipe for a perfect disaster surf trip, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it turned out all right, but at the time, after a few beers as well, I was literally crying in Mel's arms. I was in tears, just I'd spent all my money to get to Bali to go surfing, and I'd been on the piss and broke my toe. And I just was so upset. I remember crying in tears, man. It turned out all right, I taped it up, and a week later I was fine. I was surfing, but that felt at the time. That felt like the end of the world.
I lost almost a week in the water in Bali by hurting my foot. And the stupidest thing was, I was walking in across the cobbles at Balian, and I bent down to pick up a piece of plastic just doing, doing my civic duty of removing a bit of plastic from the ocean. And while bending down, I slipped over and cut my ankle and the bottom of my foot. And I had to go up to Ubud because I couldn't cope with looking at the ocean anymore.
Oh, man.
Do you know what, Harry? You've done a good job. We've done it. As we keep saying, who misses surf trips? Because stuff just goes wrong anyway, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And as we've just told the listeners, we are still collecting. I think we're going to be posting a photograph of Anonymous from last week's foot that has been sent to us. We had one about somebody gashing their foot in Portugal and missing any trip where any injury that makes you miss a bit of surf. We like those stories as well. And Dav sending his in from Cascais, Lisbon as well. Lost, robbed, sunburnt, ill, arrested, whatever it is. We want to hear them because the week after next, we're going to do this show dedicated to all of them. We're going to give out awards. We're still working on the judging criteria just to make sure that the worst surf trips definitely rise to the top. Or should I say, sink to the bottom. Anyway, the email is castcrest@gmail.com. And you can also send us ideas, as I said, through Instagram, if you have a look at that post that we've just put up. And send us more pictures, yes, because they carry bonus points.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming on the show, Harry. Good luck with the rest of this season's fishing, and hope we can run into each other, perhaps in a Pembrokeshire lineup over the summer if travel restrictions allow.
Yes, mate, that'd be amazing. And thanks a lot for having me on. And good luck, boys, with the future Crest podcast. It's pretty sick so far. And I'm looking forward to getting some proper Welsh legends on here.
Well, if you've enjoyed Harry's tales, there's more Crest to catch up on if you subscribe to us on Spotify, YouTube, or through Apple Podcasts, where you can promptly find any of the other interviews we've done to date. As for next week, well, we're going to head over Offa's or over the Bristol Channel, to be more precise, to the old enemy, England, to source our next guest. Tom and I will be chatting to the Plymouth-based shaper Luke Young. Expect plenty of discussion to do with equipment, shaping, and board design. Luke is also a great storyteller and someone with a wealth of travel experience, including one of our favourite topic destinations. As you ought to know by now, Hawaii. In fact, he spent a stint on the North Shore shaping under the mentoring of Pat Rawson, on whose board Tom Carroll, Harry's mate, as we've learned today, performed the manoeuvre of the early 90s at Pike, that infamous snap under the lift that I'm sure you've all seen so many photos of. Luke's always full of ideas for anyone thinking about what to ride next, and plenty of opinions to season that advice with, and we can't wait. In the meantime, stay safe, don't get too stoked, and thanks for listening.
Hoi la matro.
1, 2